Okay, now let's go to David Bertolino's interview discussing Spooktacular, the Spooky World documentary that's premiering today at Fantastic Fest. When David and I originally recorded this interview, he couldn't discuss exactly which film festival he was premiering at, so he does not tell which one. But it is certainly Fantastic Fest, premiering September 23rd today at the festival. But I originally met David in LA when I lived there. He was my next door neighbor, and he was at the time, about 10 years ago, writing and producing and putting on a musical adaptation of the adult film Deep Throat. So that's how I met David originally, and he's an interesting guy, and check out his interview right now.
I mean, just in a nutshell, in 1991, I bought a farm, a dairy farm, in the Boston area, and had an idea to do this hayride every October in my backyard. And it was a 5.5 acre site. And so, aiming high, but I didn't know that then, I called Tom Savini, and I heard a lot about him. So Tommy and I connected. In a nutshell, just to give you the elevator pitch of it, Tom came out, loved the property, worked all summer, helped us create this elaborate hayride. And we expected to, have maybe 300 or 400 guests a night. And we figured that would let us break even. And instead, for 31 nights, we did 2,000 people each night.
Wow.
And so it was a phenomenal success. I had a 10-year loan for $150,000, and we paid it back in 3 weeks. And as a result, Tommy came back every year to help build additions to the event.
What was his aspect? Was he building like the props, the haunted houses? What was
well,
he?
and initially it was just called Spooky Hayrides in the first year. So we were building these 22 stage sets along a hayride trail, populated by a couple of hundred actors. And so that was his concentration, is to form the little vignettes, stage them, direct them, and we would
And
be on.
you wrote the stories to those, right? I remember you talking about. You
Yeah.
wrote the
Oh, yeah.
little.
We actually, would meet on Mondays to go over what just happened in the previous week, and we would look at various newspapers. That we'd get the headlines of newspapers, and so we would bring out, some political issues that were on the front page, local stories that were on the front page. And so it was, kind of topical. It was like watching, a monologue of those late night shows, because you get a lot of political humor tied in.
Mhm.
And we were making magic, and we didn't know. But we had a sense of it by year two, because we added on our first haunted house, which was the Tom Savini haunted house. And each year we added on more attractions. In fact, at one point we had 6 haunted houses. We had a museum that was populated by original props and displays from, first run horror movies that Tommy was friends with, these producers and directors. So we got all this stuff donated. It was wonderful. And it worked out nicely. And now here we are, 11 years after the opening. I sold it to the New England Patriots football team. And since then, it's been
Wow.
resold, and it's still operating. It's actually moved to a location in New Hampshire, and they're doing quite well. And so, Spooky World continues on. It's called Nightmare New England Spooky World. But, my reign was the first 11 years, and I sold it and moved on and moved to California.
Mhm.
And now we moved the clock up to 3 years ago. And
Yeah.
a knock at the door is Quinn Monahan, who is a recognized director out in this area, who's been in the biz a long time and has a real natural sense for what, people want for horror, as well as, he's got a theater background as well. So he was, asking me for a few years to consider making a documentary and I wasn't interested in having my life, under a microscope again. I like the solace of, retiring out here. But
Mhm.
finally, Cindy, my wife and I were watching Seth Meyers' late night show, and the guest was John Krasinski. And that show changed my whole, thought process. Uh, Seth asked Krasinski, fellow New Englander, do you have any fond memories of growing
Mhm.
up in the Boston area? And he said, yeah. He says, my best memories were made at Spooky World Theme Park in Berlin, Massachusetts. I was floored. And it went on for about 5 minutes, that segment. Then they came back after break and he talked about stories that happened to him over the years at Spooky World. The next day I called Quinn and I said, okay, I'm in. This sounds like people are still interested in this. And, and here we are now. The documentary is having color enhancement, sound enhancement, but it's pretty completed. And now we're coming into 4 huge film festivals that have reached out to us and want us as
Awesome.
best
Great.
documentary. So I'm blown away. Now, I can't talk about which festivals they are, but they are huge. And they're starting in the end of September.
Okay.
And they're domestic. There's 3 in the United States, and there's 1 overseas in Europe. And again, I can't talk about it because we are mustering all of our celebrities, including Alice Cooper, Linda Blair, Kane Hodder. Who else is coming? Dan Roebuck, Insane Clown Posse, Alice Cooper. I think I mentioned that.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
All of these people are going to be making appearances at our various premieres at these film festivals, but we have to wait until the film festival announces first, which will be any day now, I'm being told. So stay tuned.
That's
and the
awesome.
name of the and the name of the movie is Spooktacular, and it covers kind of my background in the Halloween industry, making products, making displays, making props for haunted attractions throughout the country, and then finally saying, hey, I can do this myself, and creating this huge event that's still popular to this day.
Yeah, what
So
is it about haunted houses and on Halloween that attract? I mean, what did you find with your audience that attracted them to Spooky World? What made your space a unique one for other haunted houses?
well, I'd like to take all the credit, but you've got a good camera on me. You're looking at an idiot. I had no idea what people wanted. I mean, I had no creative bones, but I helped develop the skill set of recognizing what people enjoy watching. But the creativity part was truly Tom Savini and a number of our artists in house that
Mhm.
created this over the course of 11 years. I mean, this thing was iconic. And, you know, with lack of funds, we got even more creative in the first couple of years. And, you know, eh, I mean, you go to these huge Halloween theme parks these days, you wait in line for an hour or two. Well, all of our events were 5 and 10 minute haunted house attractions. And
Mhm.
so you can get more people through with wider aisleways. And we used a huge amount of robotics. We partnered with a group who, in addition, of putting 20 or 30 actors in each haunted attraction, we also had 10 or 15 robotics in each attraction, as well as stage platform elevated stages. So while you're in each line at each haunted attraction, you actually got to see a show, a little vignette going on. So yes, we did have the lines. They're not the lines, the killer size lines that you see at Universal and Knott's,
Mhm.
because our throughput was gauged much higher and wider. And in addition, the time that you did spend, you were thoroughly entertained by, the roving street performers, but in addition, the platformed elevated stage sets that were happening. And it was just a very special time. And we actually, thanks to Tom's efforts, he reached out to the horror community, which got us every horror celebrity. So you can go to Spooky World, and weekly we would change the celebrities. So, you can walk through the, Freddy Krueger style haunted attraction. And at the end, there's Robert Englund taking a picture with you. And
Mhm.
then we had the Elvira haunted house, and there was Elvira. And we had a Pinhead haunted attraction, and there's Doug Bradley. And so, all of these people came together, and it was, quite a special time in Halloween theme park history. We were the first, literally the first and only, at the time, the only haunted theme park in America. And it all goes back to those, humble beginnings in the Boston area called Spooky World.
It's so great that you're able to finally document these stories, because these are too good not to record some of these insights.
Oh, I got to say,
For the-
it's all in the documentary.
yeah. But
Spooktacular.
I'm glad that you finally realized to make the documentary about Spooky World.
I
These
kind of
stories are too.
avoided it. Yeah, for a few years, I just kind of thought, I'm done with this. I move on. I never realized. In fact, even just recently, um, David Markland, local entrepreneur, runs a huge event called Midsummer Scream, and he
Mm.
invited me to his event, and it was like thousands and thousands of people. And he gave me a booth, a table. And I said, geez, who's going to want to see, he asked me to make a mini poster. I says, you think, there's going to be any interest? He says, oh, trust me. He says, Spooky World is very popular. Everyone knows that you folks were the first out. And it's well known, not just locally in New England, but all over the country. Well, you know, 2 weekends ago, I went out there and I brought the posters, and I was stunned. I signed 400 posters. I mean, we made 500. I thought I was going to have enough because I have 4 film festivals coming up next month. And I thought, oh,
That can't be
500.
named.
I went through almost all of them. I autographed them all, and people had great stories. And some of the stories were not just people, indigenous to New England. They saw the Spooky World video, which was a commercial videotape we made back in the mid 90s, and they bought it at Spencer Gifts. I remember selling 24,000 of these videos, a visit to
Well,
Spooky World, to Spencer Gifts. So they were in every Spencer Gifts location. They were in every iParty location. And so even people, and of course, there's just haunted house lovers that, it's almost like the way people gamble at their local Indian casino,
mhm.
but then they know that the granddaddy of all casinos is in Las Vegas. So we were kind of like the Las Vegas of the Halloween attractions. We were
Yeah.
to the fans. So this is just wonderful to, and again, when I was at this event called Midsummer Scream, uh, one of their huge features, and this is very cool, is they get about 20 haunted house attractions, and each one puts their best displays on. So you can actually walk through 20 little mini haunted house attractions. And of course, one of them was Knott's, and one of the officials at Knott's came by my booth and said, we want to thank you on behalf of the industry. You started our industry, and you're the granddaddy. You're known as, the first Halloween theme park in America. And it's like, I guess we are. I mean, I just not realizing, the impression that we had on millions of fans.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, is that I don't know, is that your legacy of Spooky World? Is that uh
Yeah, I
what you'd
mean,
want to be
I
known
guess
for?
it is. I mean, I thought, I mean, I was never looking for a legacy, but I'm thrilled when I see, one of our makeup artists that's up for an Academy Award. I mean, for
Yeah.
doing makeup, and he started at Spooky World. We have several people who have been Academy Award nominated that started their careers at Spooky World. I'm blown away by that. I'm blown away by the actors who were at the haunted attractions, the celebrities that visited as guests when they were children. And one of them is a fellow by the name of Spencer Charnas. he's in a group that he started called Ice Nine Kills. And I had a phone meeting with him a year ago, and he wanted to supply music gratis for the Spooktacular documentary.
Awesome.
And I said, give me your impressions. He said, David, I went there as a kid. I was motivated to do all my horror music.
If you've not watched their last album, it's all horror movie themed.
Oh yeah, and
songs.
his motivation was Spooky World. So figure that out. So he's actually coming to at least one of the huge film festivals. So and it's nice because after we screen the movie, several of these celebrities will be in a talkback session, a panel with me, along with Quinn Monahan, the director, and we're gonna just kind of relive it all.